Dawn Furlong, formerly known as Dawn Purnell. That's the name that the tattoo world knows me as. There's something so transformative about the art of tattoo, about the process of getting tattooed, that I believe in the intention that's come forth to that people feel the need to inscribe their skin. It's like meant to be for me. Like somehow I was chosen to do this for people. I aspired to do a bodysuit when I was 18. I started to learn how to, I started my apprenticeship when I was 18. And so at that point I was flooded with so much the Japanese books of all the Yakuza and all this information about the history of tattooing and how it, went through the scarification in Africa, tattooing in Europe, and then how it came to America, and the people that really transformed more traditional forms of tattooing into what it is now, which is just, it's a mix of many different traditions, and it's very unlimited. I've chosen tattooers that I love their work, so no matter what, I know I'm going to get their work, and it's going to be awesome, and beautiful. There was other tattoos that I was more specific about. I wanted I have a tattoo of Buddha. So I met Bill. Bill was very pivotal with my learning of the tattoo trade. Ira was my mentor, but there was like 4 or 5 other artists in the shop that were amazing. So I was kind of like in this ideal kind of college setting, in the sense of everyone had a lot of experience. And there's many different roads to a beautiful tattoo. There's not just one way to make it. So I got a lot of different information, and Bill was one of those people that I worked with. So we met in the tattoo shop, and when I was 21, we got into a relationship, and he was a Hell's Angel at that point, so he was getting into that club. So he was kind of leaving tattooing a little bit and doing more of that. Whereas my career was still really, really going. His knowledge of the fine art world and love for it, we shared that. A very gentle soul. And so we connected in that way, even though we were both living in very harsh worlds. The tattoo world as a woman in the early 90s was a harsh world. Him as a Hell's Angel was a harsh world. Like, we chose these things to, I believe, evolve in spirit. Because of our choices with those two, we split after a year. And so we spent like 11 years apart. And in that time, I moved to New Mexico. I got clean and sober. I started really kind of working on my own anger, my own issues, just really needing to change things. And I did a lot of that. And I still am every day, just wanting to grow. Bill wrote to me from prison. He had spent like 8 years in prison at that point. He was in prison for conspiracy, and the main thing he was in prison for was his integrity. He was, he was a very straightforward, honest man. But back then, he didn't have to have any evidence. They didn't have any evidence. They just had some guys that had turned over and mentioned his name. Now, he could have easily mentioned some other people's names, but he wouldn't do that. He just had a lot of integrity, and he did his time the way that a man should, is what he would say. So after he got out of prison, He moved down here to New Mexico with me. Totally believed in me as a mother, as a shop owner, as a tattooer. You know, he really, yeah, he just loved me. It was very difficult for him to accept that love without conditions back. Zoe and Haas are Kurt's children, so while he was in prison, I married Kurt. And we had Zoe and Haas, and then we divorced. And then a couple years later, Bill came back into the picture. He was depressed, and it was hard. He had PTSD, and there was a lot that he was struggling with. And he needed to go home, and he did. I supported him going home. Omaha, Nebraska was his home. And it was just supposed to be for 2 or 3 months at the most. But the thing is that the motorcycle club is, with the pain in his own family growing up, the motorcycle club became his family. Now, us having created our family, myself, Zoe, Haas, and Bill, again, it's my belief that because it was so nurturing, it was just, it was hard for him to really just believe that he deserved it. So when he went home, he chose to enter back into the club. He really went in with the intention of bringing back some of those old morale, that old baseline of what it was built on. And a couple of the old timers told him, you know, you're not gonna do it. It's not gonna work. It's changed. And he just felt really passionate about doing that, and I supported him doing that, even though I was suffering without him. It didn't work out because there was an individual that was just so gone with the drugs, you know, just so gone. And Bill, of course, with his presence, was not allowing him to function in this immoral way. And so the guy shot Bill. The guy killed Bill. The guy killed Bill. Killed Bill. Killed Bill. Killed Bill. 3 weeks before Bill wrote to me from prison, when we got back together, I dreamed of him. I dreamed of him, and I dreamed of marriage. And that happened. 3 weeks before he died, I dreamed he died. I couldn't see his face. He was laying on the ground, and I had my hands on his head, but his face was covered. And he was dying. And I told him that we love him, and the kids love him, and his family loves him, and his friends love him. I had called him and said I had this terrible dream. And that last 3 weeks was really when stuff was heightened with that other person in the club. And we just have such a soul connection that it came to me in that vision, you know. Yeah, there was a dream with a black wedding dress, and he was saying, we can't do this, because it's gonna end really, really bad. I've always been a really vivid dreamer, and I have connected with those that I've lost through the dreams. What got me into Buddhism in a more serious way was my divorce from Kurt. I'd started really reading and trying to meditate. And so then through the years, by the time that Bill died, I was more studied in Buddhism. So I found the Heart Sutra, and I really began to study that. I read a few books on it and then started just chanting every day, chanting the Heart Sutra with the mala. I really believe that that helped me transcend the pain. The pain was so much that I felt broken. And I really found that was important for me to feel. And that nothing's broken, actually. All of it's perfect. All of it's valid, and it is all necessary. You know, and in that meditation and going through the death, every stage of the death of like such denial, like what could I have done to change it? Like I went through so much study of our letters, of our text, of our voicemails, of all this stuff of like an irrational struggle to change something that you can't change. The deeper that I went with the Heart Sutra, the deeper that I went with grief and the stages of grief, that the higher I could come out of that. The Heart Sutra being my last tattoo was so significant because it took me full circle from my first tattoo of like this sort of naive love or not even knowing what the word necessarily meant to like the Heart Sutra, and I believe my whole process made me more whole. I knew that I was going to put it on my you know, soul chakra here, the top of my head. And I did a dragon head as well. And that's transformation. So I don't necessarily feel that I mean, when I say I'm a whole person, I'm more whole. I'm not like healed, I'm not like enlightened, I'm not in any of that. I aspire to be. But I don't, you know, I just believe that the process has somehow brought me to life in a way that is more whole, is deeper. So it took 6 hours to tattoo the whole thing. We had a ceremony here at the shop. All the ladies that worked for me, and Kurt was there, and some friends came, and I put the Heart Sutra chanting on the iPod playing. And each kid, we braided 2 braids, and Zoe cut 1 braid and Haas cut the other, and I had 2 sets of clippers, and they just like went to town, and it was fun and it was beautiful. You know, I just like really embraced the happiness. Even at the time of the death, I knew that tragedy and beauty were the same coin, different sides of the coin. But the beauty that was happening amongst in the wake of the tragedy was present. You know, and the freedom of someone's soul is a gift. I think I just want to love and honor and create as much happiness and as little suffering as possible. You know, just through all of the things that I've been through, it feels like that's really what I want.